Did you hear the new streaming movies? They don't actually exist. So recently, legendary director Quentin Tarantino came out and said that streaming movies don't really exist in the zeitgeist. And while it sounds like kind of a crazy thing to say at first glance, I kind of understand what he's trying to say. You know, I think that streaming in general is kind of harmful for movies in the sense of just releasing movies straight to streaming. Nothing wrong with streaming in general. I love that stuff. But I think what the boy QT is trying to say is that when you see a movie in theaters, right? Like, let me take a movie, The Covenant, okay? A slept-on movie I saw this year, thought it was a banger, slapper of a good time. For me, I kind of remember the night I saw The Covenant, right? I had to drive to the theater. I had to get my ticket. I sat there and I did that. I talked to my friend after about the movie. That was pretty good. Oh, that was pretty good. That wasn't as good. I drove home and I thought about it. It was a full experience outside of just the movie itself. Good or bad, you kind of have those interactions because going to the theater is an experience. That is way different from me sitting down and I scroll Netflix for 10 minutes and I go, wow, what to watch? Okay, The Covenant. Cool, I watched that by myself, and I'm just using an example, okay? You can watch movies with all your homies, and in fact, you should. I watch it and I go, okay, that was cool. Now, let me go eat some muffins or something like that. Not the same experience. It doesn't lend itself to the same kind of conversation that going to the theater does. So I completely understand what he's trying to say. A movie that comes up that I want to talk about is the new Evil Dead Rise movie, a movie that was planned to debut on stream and just go there, but instead, after it got some good reviews and things like that, some screenings, they decided to go in theaters, and it made the movie, I think, an actual thing, an actual conversation. If it released on streaming, which in general, I feel like the marketing is way worse for streaming movies, it probably would have gotten forgotten and just swept under the rug. Way less of a thing, making less money, less buzz for the Evil Dead franchise. I don't think he's coming out to say anything out of malice towards any studio or person, and there is nothing wrong with streaming movies, but it kind of just feels like comparing a theatrical film to a direct video kind of like Hallmark Channel kind of thing. It was a little different back in the day of like COVID when no one could go to the theaters. That makes sense. You take a movie like Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, that's not really a streaming movie. It's just circumstantial. But again, a movie like that, I feel like didn't get as much attention as it deserved. Like, I just hate the idea of, you know, when a movie comes out, I recommend it to someone, they go, oh, that's cool, like, what theaters is it playing at nearby? And I go, oh no, it's a Max movie, or it's a Netflix film. It's just not the same to me. It gives me a weird vibe, you know? I'm a big theater guy. I am an advocate of going to the theaters, watching it with friends, grabbing your popcorn, your milk duds, all that stuff, having a discussion, making it experience. I want it to be something like, oh, what are you doing on Wednesday night? Oh, I'm going to the movies. That's what I'm doing on that night. Instead of just like, oh, I have nothing to do, let me turn something on to like fill in the time. So yeah, I completely understand what he's saying, and quite frankly, I agree. Streaming, it's a great tool to find an audience after the fact, after a theatrical release, and I don't think that you can have one without the other. But as far as debuting movies, release them in theaters. I think that's always going to be the best idea. Just don't have your marketing be trash, and I think it will get a lot more buzz than streaming. And what's the downside? If it's going to be on streaming later, why not just release it there? I know there are a bunch of other costs, exhibition and distribution and things like that, but I don't see the downside really to debuting in a theater, and then you can still push that convenience option to the streaming audience at a later date once it's done. Just my thoughts. Curious to what you think. New videos every day this week. I'm gonna try at least.